What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today I've got another cool one for you. These guys just came out and they're just about to hit the site as soon as I'm done with this video, and I'm going to do some photos of it and publish. So, fun fact, this will be the knife that will end up on the site. This is the Shirogorov Stellar. Full production M390. If you guys recall, we recently had the launch of the first production Stellars, which were the S90Vs. I believe there were some CCKS Stellars dubbed the Touch, which were also M390 with the tool set and a little different, but more or less very similar. And then here we are today with the full production Stellar. How cool is this? So we're going to talk about this knife in detail and a lot of comparisons. I apologize, I've had a cold all week, so I might sound a little more business cash today, but that's all good. Reminder, check my website BladeZilla.ca, where I have a lot of the knives featured on the channel available to buy. So when I'm filming this, we just got up a bunch of Halloween Hatties, a couple of used pieces, some RJ Martins. So lots of good stuff, but that is BladeZilla.ca. In Canada, has everything ready to go. It's already here. No worry about it getting stuck at the border. I also ship obviously into the States, so not a big deal. It's a lot easier going to the States than it is the other way, so it's funny how that works. Anyway, let's, I guess, get started with this beautiful piece. Let's get the tape measure out and get some measurements, and we'll take things from there. So, any guesses? Should be, I think there are 90 mils. I'm doing this without a spec sheet as well, so 8 3/8, no, 8 1/4. Does that look about right to you guys? 8 1/4 inches overall length with a blade grind of 3 5/8 type. Is that right? Yeah, 3 5/8. Handle length, 4.5. Really good size. How does that compare to its main sizing buddies? Well, you know what? I don't have a high-end piece here. So we're going to do the F95 and my little neon that I had. I don't have any neon NLs or nothing. I'm just all digging into my own stuff here just to show sizes. So there's kind of your 3 size comparisons. And remember, the angle of the camera will obviously alter that, so that if I, say, for example, move that up and move that over, all of a sudden it looks very small by comparison, and this will appear very large by comparison. Geez, that does not look right. On the screen, I'm looking at it in the camera. That's ridiculous. They're not that big of a difference. If anything, the Stellar and the F95 are actually very close. Very close. Not that big of a difference. I'd say more like this. You know, bigger handle, right? Blade length is a little smaller, but handle-wise, very similar. So there's that. But I think one of the things that we're going to actually talk a little bit about today is kind of the comparison between a sprint run or a custom division, because I do have my Stellar here. I've had it forever and ever, and you guys, for the long BladeZilla aficionados, will probably have seen this one on the site now, or on the YouTube channel for a little while. And the comparison between the two is not as big of a gap as one would think. And in a lot of cases, very, very similar. Like, obviously, the profile, the shape of the blade, everything's very similar, right up into the actual grind and the, I guess, some of the blade edge work is a little different, but, or is it? I can't really see. Oh, no, it's not. I never noticed that. But anyway, even the blade is very well done. Beautiful piece, honestly, and detail on these compared to some of the other production pieces. It's one of the sharper and higher done pieces in their entire portfolio for production piece, and that's just my opinion. But it's done very well. And you look at this guy and you can see all like the different beveling, the detail work that they've actually done here, and it's through the roof. And I remember when they first launched the Stellar, first production, I've had a few friends that were like, hey, I know you're a plain Jane guy, and that should be evidenced by my collection. I know you're a plain Jane tie guy, and I know you like M390. When's that coming to the Stellar? And I just crossed my fingers. I said, you know, I'm not Shirogorov. I don't know when these pieces are launching, when they're doing any of these things. But I do know that that's the configuration I've been waiting for, which is this. You know, the original first production had a kind of a blue tint to it, which I could have liked. I don't mind it. Some people, it seems like some were really blue, others were really dull. I think most people, it just kind of came down to the lighting that they're looking at it with. And whereas this, you know, it's plain tie, it's got a stonewash appearance, it's going to be timeless. And it's just beautiful. Multi-row bearings, this one's not even broken in. These are the first flips that it's ever experienced. And it feels so good for a production piece that it's as good as it gets. So anyway, a couple size comparisons that we're going to do as well while we're here. Let's just kind of go down the normal range. So we've got our F95 Turtle. I know we've all loved that knife. That is a custom division. We've got our Neon NL custom division as well, which is a great little piece. We've got, I guess this one can make a little pop onto the channel. Has not been announced yet, but there you go. That is an F95 NL, which is a terrific blade. Have yet to show that anywhere on the channel. And, you know, let's grab a Kami. Because the Stellar is a very Kami-esque size knife. Very different kind of ratios and, you know, look to it, but let's be honest, it's very similarly sized. So if you guys have a Kami or have experienced one, it's kind of cut from the same cloth. So there you go. There you go. So let's talk about this. So in hand, okay, remember I'm actually, you know what? Before we're going to do in hand, let's weigh it. I'm getting ahead of myself. My apologies. Let's grab my little scale here and zero it off. I'm getting too excited. And you know, it'd be good to get a weight of the Sprint Run as well. Even though it is Damasteel, but it's a bit heavier, it'd be a good idea to kind of get a general idea of both. They should be pretty similar. 4.2 ounces is what I'm getting on the production. Let's do it twice. 4.3. Okay, and where's my Sprint Run? We will grab that one as well. Because, yeah, it's always good to kind of get a comparison between full production. This one actually feels heavier. 4.3. 4.3. And this one is more like 4.2. Jeez. There's no way they're the same. I think the scales, there we go, 4.2. It's airing down a little bit. So let's just say it's within the same type of range. You know, it's the same knife. It should be pretty darn close. So there we have it. Now, fit in hand. Let's get into this. Fit in hand, it's brilliant. It's a more locked in feel than like an F95 or a Neon, because it's kind of got a nice closed swoop to it, in my opinion, that you really notice compared to the other two. Fits well. The jimping's a little lackluster, and I've mentioned this in the past. Very little amount of jimping. That's kind of, I don't know why they don't just do away with it, other than, you know, you would have thought, like, usually there's a dual purpose to the jimping, and maybe at one point they looked at this and like, oh, maybe people will front flip it here or something. No, I don't think that's the case. I think that they put it there because you kind of just need a little grab for your thumb. Personally, I don't think it's anything fancy. It's It's not that usable, but the knife fits your hand, as my buddy Knife Nerdery says. My YouTube buddy. You know, if it fits your hand, you don't need jimping. So for me, my finger falls kind of on top of it, in front of it. Not a big deal. Not totally usable, but also not really that big of a difference. And compared to the Sprint Run or Custom Division, whatever you want to call it, they've kind of got the same thing going on there. Other than there's a little swoopier kind of spot for your finger. And I'll show that with the side profile. Hopefully you can see that, how it kind of forms just a little bit more. Whereas this seems just kind of flat. We've got obviously some good edge work on the blade all the way down from the tip. It's rounded and thinned, and it doesn't expand out till the very, very end. So beautiful. You know, it looks a lot thinner than it is. And I would mic it, but I don't have a mic. I'm guessing it's a 3mm blade stock, just based on from up here, which is kind of standard nowadays on a lot of the production pieces, it seems. And it just looks to me like it gives me that fighter jet in a cockpit kind of feel to it. You know, kind of closed off, like the lid's closed. I kind of get that vibe on this knife. But beautifully done. Now, it is running on multi-row bearings, which I showed the action a little bit earlier. It's incredibly smooth. Incredibly smooth. And remember, this is a production knife, so there's nothing stopping you from opening this thing up. Not that it would be stopping you even on a custom division, and even in some cases customs. But, you know, in my experience, they tend to feel a little dry when they're new, because it's almost like a waxy kind of coat they're putting on the bearings, and it breaks in over time. If you wanted to speed that up, you know, there's nothing stopping you from opening this and putting on, say, some nano oil, right? Some 10 weight or something to kind of just make it a little smoother. It's already silky smooth. You've seen every flip. I don't know if I would touch this one. But it is on the multi-row bearings. And if we're talking multi-row bearings, remember multi-row bearings are kind of 3 bearings in a row in a pinwheel configuration around a circle, right? Whereas traditionally you kind of get bearings in a track, and that would be Shirogorov's single row bearings, okay? Now, usually they write that on the inside of the handle here. It would be like an MRBS. But if I remember correctly, and I haven't looked, the first production, they wrote it on the inside of the tip up here, I think is what they did. So I'm trying to go off memory, but I remember it being on the inside here. And I can't even see, but let me grab my little light here. Oh yeah, MRBS, see that? Right in the inside of the frame? So there you go. My memory doesn't always last forever, but in this case, on important items like knives, it has kicked in where I want it to. So MRBS, and what I was saying is they're usually written on the inside of the handle up here instead, which there's nothing. Now, I'm assuming the inside of this is skeletonized like crazy, which it is. Oh my god, it's a work of art. And the light should be able to bounce around, and you can see all the cuts and whatnot inside. The true beauty of this one is not appreciated until you open it up, which, you know, when you get a Shirogorov, honestly, please get the tool, open it up, take a look. They're so brilliant on the inside, and there's just levels of detail in here that you're just doing yourself a disservice by not seeing. They're honestly so good on the inside. Now, obviously, we're not looking at a kind of frame lock style knife here. We've kind of got their liner lock, which is super sick, and a lot of people love it. I think it looks terrific. It works wonders, and is simple. You know, a little light on the lockup, but remember that's the angle of the grind and whatnot, and it actually engages quite a bit. So, beautifully engaged lock. The jimping on this is just crazy. Not the jimping, sorry. The the micro milling on this tab. I don't know how much the camera is going to pick up on this, but I can assure you, this is right in front of the lens. It's incredible. Like I'll for sure be taking photos of this with my macro lens to show that, because it looks so freaking cool and good. Oh my good God. This is a production knife, and that is a custom division finish. I can almost guarantee you they're identical. And what I'll do is grab the sprint run, because that does not look any different to me. There you go. See the milling? It's the same. Wow, that's so cool. And one more reason, I think these production Stellars are going to be probably smoking hot for the next 6 months, because one, the price point's finally in line, right? There's volume available on them. It's the full tie configuration in a stone wash, which hides scratches. You've got obviously your nice back spacer, which we'll talk about later, and an M390 blade. You know, it's the gold standard of Shirogorov production. You know, and guys, what do I always bitch about on the blade? I always say, oh, I don't like when they put the logo here because it's in the cutting path, especially on smaller knives. It's like clockwork. I bring that up, okay? Well, on this side, yes, they have M390 written on the blade, okay? I can't win them all. But remember how I always say, oh, I wish they put more info on the frame. Well, let me just move my hand here. Where's the Shirogorov bear? It's on the frame. I love that. Every one of their knives should have that there. Not necessarily there, but in terms of, it should put it on the frame instead of on the blade, because that just looks so classy. It costs money. That's why I'm assuming they can't always do it. But oh my gosh, when they do it, it looks so good. I've got lots of room, obviously. Enough room that you can see the bear on the tip, which is cool. That's what she said. And it's a very comfortable, usable knife. I think it's going to be, I think people are going to really like this one. It's a, it's a medium large instead of like a small medium. So it fits nice. It's a bigger knife still. 4 ounce, 4.2 or whatever my scale said there. So it's kind of at that magic ratio, which is awesome. The back spacer I'm kind of confused on, okay? I can't tell if there's a kind of a polish to this or not. And I haven't looked at it long enough. It might just be a standard titanium stonewash back spacer. But for some reason I'm looking at this going, I wonder if they've polished part of that. Or put a different bead blast on it or something, because it doesn't look like the rest. It almost looks a little better. Looks great, fits well. No issues there. We still have the lanyard hole, which is a bit unsightly for, on their high-end stuff. You can make an argument for that. But in this case, both have it in the same spot. And it's a non-issue. As we can see, both have the little hole. So, looks great. I don't mind it. And I always use this as my control when I'm talking about back spacers and how they, tend to kind of put the lanyard loop through the back spacer. So here's the CD, and as we talk about, well, that one's definitely polished stonewash. Sorry, I'm talking to myself. Yeah, you get that little lanyard loop in the back, and from the side you don't get the unsightliness of having a hole. So it's not a big deal, but that's their design here. That's what's so beauty about this Stellar, is that that's what they're going for. The pocket clip is another work of art. The closer you look at this one, the more detail you see, and the more you see all the milling lines, on top. Underneath this is another one. When you, if you ever took this clip off and looked underneath, it's another just work of art. And then they've cut a pocket out on the frame for your pants to slide up and down on, which looks great. Just another little detail that they don't have to necessarily do. The clip's attached internally via a screw, I believe, which will be, it's on the tip right in the back here. Just a little screw on the inside. As well, there's one more little screw there, which I believe is for the liner. And that's how it's attached inside. So you'll see a little bump under the clip, but from the top you don't see it. See when I roll it? You see that little ball there? I think that's a screw head. Which is cool. Not a screw head, but the tip of it. So pretty cool how they hide everything there. And then another thing that's beautiful is like from this side, you know, you can obviously tell that you know, they've matched the two bolts in all opposing directions, which is hint what they normally do when they're new. And then on the other side they've left the blinds, so there's nothing. It just kind of fills things in, looks good, which is awesome. Now the beauty, honest to goodness, the beauty of this knife is it's all in the details. And for the Stellar, it's all around the edges. You know, it's all micro milled, machined in such high detail around the edges in varying drill bit size and patterns, right? So the bigger the bit, I guess, right? You can kind of see how it goes from big down to small here, which is a nice little touch. And probably not that easy to do. And on the bottom, they alternate. You can see there's obviously a change here. It's just done so well and looks so sharp. And you get lost in these details over time when you pick one of these up. You'll be, you know, on your desk beside you. You'll be doing some work or whatever, and then some light will hit it a certain way, and you'll see something pop, and you'll be like, "Oh my god, that is just so cool." Right, and it's the same pattern all throughout, right? So both sides are kind of micro in one direction on there, and then a nice kind of concave angling there. Same thing on the other side. And that's not just an angle. Like I just said, that's concave, which is not easy to do. Same thing down here. It's a concave. Which is awesome. I'm trying to figure out here. Let me flip this open and see if I notice that, the concaveness. Not really, because your fingers aren't really landing in the spot. It's just a nice detail. Whereas unlike the F95 NLCD, you know, the front's not flat, it's concave, so your fingers actually fall into it. And I'll try to show that, but I'll totally sidetracked, sorry. So you can kind of see that? Not really, eh? But this scale is it's concave, which is cool. Flipper tab looks good. Just a little bit of jimping on top of it. Lots of grip though to fire it out. Detent I'd say is medium light. Yeah, medium. Sucks in. It's not shaking out or anything, which is awesome. Lots of ample clearance as well in the frame here for your finger or whatever. You're not going to touch that blade. It's very deep in the frame, which is why as you kind of go down the pocket, you're able to put a lanyard hole up there and not get in the way of the blade. Everything's perfectly centered, tolerances through the roof. The blade's so close to the backspacer, it's quite frankly a little frightening for a production piece. I don't know how they're able to get away with that on, let's say they pump out batches of 100. You know, these are not machine ground blades, so I don't know how they get away with that, but they do, and it looks really good. And I've looked through some of them that I have, they're all very tight like that, which is so cool. You know, when I first got into Shiro, when I saw my first custom division, I looked at it and I go, man, the tolerance is like, you can't do that on every knife. And then you start getting some production pieces that are doing that. And you just get, yeah, it's just, I don't know how they do it. And these are the things that when I tell my friends, you know, you've had a Chris Reeves, you've came and conquered and seen, you've had, you know, Spartans, you've had Hinderers, you've had Grimsmos, which is a really good example as well of some things. You know, you've had a lot of the higher end stuff, and then you get a Shiro, and they're just at a different level. Honestly, they're immediately a step up. on production pieces. Like, it's not even close. Like, and I'm a Shiro whore. Remember that, guys. I'm not, you know, I sell them. I love them. And that's what started the whole business, was I couldn't get these. And I wanted to help people get them because I really, really love them. First and foremost, I am a knife passion aficionado guy on the Shirogorov program. Sign me up to the monthly Shiro, whatever program they're selling, because I love it. But to get one in hand and to show you the Stellar, to show you the details, to look at the clip, to look at the backspacer, the flipper top, it's just like, guys, you got to get one. You got to try it out. Take a look at one. Because they're just so good. Oh my gosh. They're just so good. Love them. But anyway, I'll get off my tangent. They feel great. It's a feels like a full size knife in hand with a kind of a mid size length to it, I guess. You know, it really is quite nice. The originally, I remember when I first saw these, I was really worried about this clip. And then you look at it from a side profile, and you kind of not worry too much anymore about it. Because your hand is just contoured, and you can see how it just falls so nicely into there. And then your palm fills the back part of this clip. It just feels so nice. No hot spots, no nothing. I can already feel this one getting smoother. Back onto the tip here, I was talking about the tolerances. From the front, just really nice. Nothing sharp, nothing pointy, nothing in the way there. Just really, really nicely done. Hopefully I can show this from every angle, just to kind of give you an idea what we're looking at. Yeah, definite beauty. Definite beauty. Get my fingerprints off here. It's already getting on here. My hands are getting sweaty holding this. Ooh. Get out of here. And I remember when I first saw, when Shiro teased this knife, when the first Instagram photo they did, the first one, they focused right here. Right at the tip of my finger. Because that's the spot the milling changes from kind of their, I guess top to bottom, bigger bit, to kind of like a horizontal left to right with micro milling. And they focused right in on this one spot, and they just wrote "coming soon." And it was just like, what the heck? What is this? You're like, where is that on the knife? And then they zoom out a little bit and you see a backspacer. Oh, it's a Stellar. Can't wait. So, if there's any indication as well, I'm curious at what point the Stellaris makes it into a production. We've seen the Stellaris, we've seen the Stellar, they were both CDs, but that's the formula they tend to do. So when is that going to be a production? It wouldn't shock me if it's sooner than we think. But anyway, I can go on and on and on about this thing because it's truly one of my faves. And the Stellaris, whenever that comes, will be a nice little addition to that. If they decide to do it. I don't know if they will or not, but I could see them going down that route for sure. Absolutely. Between the two, S90V and M390, is there a preference from my perspective? Not really. S90V is, I guess, considered to be a little sexier, but to me, I like the frame color on the production, like a lot more. Between the first production Stellars and these, so is there going to be demand for the blue tinted anode S90V first production? Yeah, of course there will be. Do you get all of it with this? I think so. There's going to be more of them, and I think over the next 3-6 months you're going to see that demand's going to be high for them as the orders kind of fill, but I should say as the orders to suppliers fill. But I think that it's going to maintain just like the Turtles and Quantums and whatnot, and they're going to be a very solid production knife. And, you know, I always say, like, if you love the Stellar, and you love a sprint run or a custom division or a full custom, and you just love that knife, get a production one. Use it. Because they're a fraction of the price, and you still get to experience Shirogorov on the daily. And then you don't worry about it. You don't worry about sitting in a car and having it slide out of your pocket and you lose it, or you do something and chip the blade, or, you know, it's just such a good, solid production piece that I just think people are going to love. Use it, you know? Like, I've got cases of cool knives that I don't ever want to carry, but I love them. You know what I carry? I end up carrying a Quantum or a Bug Out. That's it. Honestly. And the Quantum is, I only carry it because it's got a problem with it, which is hilarious, which was my fault. But that's how I end up. I just write it off, and then there you go. But anyway, the Stellar is a super, super sick knife. The pivot, for some reason, I'm looking at it. Does that look a little bigger than this one? Or is that just me? Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. I always, you know, like on that F95, you look at the pivot size, and you can tell sometimes the bigger it gets, obviously the stronger. Or it should be in theory. But, yeah. I just thought it looked bigger. It definitely feels a little flatter. Cool. Just so well done. The bevel on the blank end is done so smooth. Oh, I guess I never really talked about the tip up here. Once again, you have all this edge work, which looks great. They don't have to do this, but they do. And that's why it's probably one of the top high-end production pieces that they have ever done. It's just done terrifically well compared to the original custom division stuff. Or full custom is, I guess, the original, but we won't go there. We won't go there. I love the milling under that clip. Just looking at it right now on the little screen, how good that looks. And the M390, it's a shame that it doesn't stick out just a little bit higher so you could see it. But I guess it is protected in there in case there's pocket keys or whatever from scratching off. But, you know, love how it's stonewash. That's going to be so good just for being in your pocket. I might have to grab one of mine here and carry it for a bit and see what it's all about. And then because I love the Stellar. I've had this. You guys have seen my collection now for so long, and I try to show, you know, little bits and pieces, but I end up kind of comparing this, you know, the F95s and the Stellars and the Neons all the time, and they don't tend to really change because I like them. I'm not selling them. And now I've got a production Stellar, and this one might end up being one that I want to keep myself. So there might be a production Stellar in my kit for a while to compare against and compare with and talk about, so it might end up being this one. But for the time being, I need to take photos of this for the website, and I've got a stack of these that I need to post for my guys that are available and let them know. So that is it. I'm filming this actually on a holiday after being sick, so I apologize if I sound awful, but wish me luck. Hopefully I feel better here in the next few days here. But having a production Stellar has immediately lifted my spirits, and if you go to BladeZilla.ca, I will also feel much better. Or just send me a message and let's chat knives instead of watching hockey or whatever. So I could do that too. Alright guys, well thanks for stopping by, taking a look, and have yourselves a good week. And hopefully by the time, I'll try to time this so that when this one's hitting the YouTube stuff, hopefully there's some of these available. So I'll do my best, but even my best sometimes is not very good. Just heads up. I have a wife. She tells me these things. I'm very hyper aware. Alright guys, have yourselves a good week. We'll talk soon. Appreciate ya. Peace.